Hi, welcome to An Academy. This is the second lecture, a guest lecture by me, Gaurav Gupta, in continuation of the series regarding history optional and also related to history preparation in general. In this presentation, we will be covering how to prepare modern history for civil services examination for those who have not taken history as an optional. This is a very important aspect, and I hope this lecture will help the students to prepare history who have not taken history as an optional, because history is a very important component for general studies. Let me introduce myself in the coming slide. Myself, Gaurav Gupta, I got AII 117 Civil Services Examination. For those who have not seen the first video by me, I did engineering from IIT Kanpur in 2006. After that, I started company with my friends in Bangalore called Aurora Integrated Systems. And after contributing my five and a half years to that, I decided to take a next challenge in the form of civil services examination, and I took history as an optional. Let us move to the core subject. Before starting off, to before starting preparation for general studies or for any other thing, I would urge aspirants to see the official syllabus, which is very important. Study of official syllabus is very important for preparation, because if you study this syllabus, you will know what is expected out of it. For the prelims, the syllabus is history of India and Indian national movement, while in mains, these are the different aspects of the syllabus, and I hope you can see this in detail. After that, just see the main points. What is the focus point? Focus point is Indian culture, art, literature and architecture, then modern Indian history from middle of the 18th century until the present significant events. So that means uh, some the history of modern India from the time when Britishers started to have influence on over India, then freedom struggle, then post-Indian independence consolidation, and also world history is a very important part of the syllabus. If we see the syllabus carefully, we can divide the complete syllabus in four parts. Modern Indian history, which is common for prelims and mains, which can be further divided into before freedom and after freedom, then medieval Indian history, ancient Indian history. For these are the topics which are common for prelims and mains, and mainly culture and art and architecture related topics come from this part, and the world history. For this topics, specific topics are given in the syllabus. Now we'll come to the next part. In this video, we shall deal only with how to prepare modern history for GS, and this is particularly concerned to those who have not taken history as an optional. I will give you tips like how to prepare history for general studies, especially modern history. First of all, we should analyze what type of questions are asked. For example, in prelims, the kind of questions are chronology based questions related to freedom movement, like there are 4 or 5 events will be given, then you have to arrange in a particular order, or you have to choose the right order. Then key personalities of freedom and related questions related to that, like any particular organization established by B.R. Ambedkar, or what are the newspaper started by a particular people. Then key movements like non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and the reforms and steps taken by British government like Indian Council Act 1892, parliamentary reform, Montagu transport reforms, etc. Then in mains, the different kind of questions comes, and it is very important to identify the difference between prelims and mains. So in mains, the contribution of different sections of society like women, tribal, middle class, and key individuals like Gandhi, Nehru, Abul Kalam have been asked. Particularly, you should try to give attention to those people for whom we are celebrating 15th or 100th anniversary, birth anniversary or death anniversary. For example, in the this year, last year there was an anniversary for Abul Kalam, and that is why the question also came in the paper. Then nature of the movement and participation, nature of the participation, whether, for example, what was the nature of participation in Congress before the mass mobilization started when Gandhi came. Then analysis of events considering national and global historical context. For example, the question can be asked that uh, why Britishers agreed to leave India after no quit India movement or after the Second World War. So these kind of questions can be asked. We have to see those questions in the light of national events which are happening and also global events. Then nation building after independence. So in that, how the political formation happened after independence, how we address social problems of our country, how we try to address economic issues, how we try to develop our economy, develop our science and technology, how we have developed our own principles related to foreign relations, for example, Panchshil principle and Nehruvian foreign policy. So these are the very important aspect that to know what kind of questions are asked. Because if you know what kind of questions will be asked, you can select what to study and what not to study, which is very important. From GS point of view, history is a vast subject. So from GS point of view, you have to see what should I study and what should I not study. Because a person who has history as an option will anyway study all the aspect of the history. But for a person who has not taken history as an option, he has to study selectively. For to decode this thing, I would uh, recommend that you study at least 3 year prelims paper and 5 year GS paper related to history questions, and you will come to know that what kind of questions are asked. So, what are the sources? I referred following books. Like for before independence, I referred history of modern India, not India's freedom struggle, because I feel that modern India gives history from the time when Mughal Empire basically was Mughal Empire was disintegrating and Britishers were increasing their influence. So, which was an important part, and there are certain questions which have been asked from that part, and it gives a more continuity that how the Indian freedom started to take off. I have been referred that Modern India by Sumit Sarkar is also a very good book. Then I used Spectrum's Modern India for revision purpose. And if you read these two books, then I believe NCRT books are not needed. I will explain this later. Then for modern history after independence, there are two books which I refer mainly: India After Independence by Bipin Chandra et al. And India After Gandhi by Ramchandra Guha. I will explain about these later. Then you can also do online quizzes like GK Today and other websites to hone your skills, especially for MCQ point of view. Then how to read and comparison of different books. I found that Modern India is a better book than Indian Freedom Struggle because it gives you historical perspective from the time when Mughal Empire started to disintegrate. Then what is the comparison between Spectrum and Bipin Chandra? Spectrum is an excellent book for revision, as I told earlier, and Bipin Chandra is good to develop the historical analysis aptitude. That how you have to connect the dots, how you have to connect the events, and how you can link the theoretical aspect of the history with the application aspect. Like why permanent settlement was adopted by Britishers, and what was the relationship between this and economic theory which was prevalent during that time in Britain. So I would say that first read either Bipin Chandra or Sumisga and then revise by reading Spectrum. This would give you a good hold over the theoretical aspect also, which will help in the mains. And by complementing or supplementing with the spectrum, you can hone your skills for MCQ uh, by using spectrum. Then I also made notes for Vipin Chandra for last minute revision. I would always recommend that try to make notes. This many people have asked me that how to remember chronology. I would give certain tips like don't focus on each events here. You should try to remember key landmark events and then try to remember the events related to it. For example, if you remember this event and there are certain smaller events which are related to it, that and suppose this happened before and these happen after, and if you remember the year of this event, let's say 1908, then you can guess the events of this and the year of this event and year of this event, and also you can guess the event year of this event and year of this event. So try to remember landmark events here and then focus on events connection, succeeding and preceding as said, and then connect the dots. For example, when Gandhi came, then after the Champaran happened, then after the Khilafat movement happened, then after the national non-cooperation movement happened, then visit by Prince of Wales, and then Chauri Chaura Kand happened, and because of that, Khilafat movement was shelved. Now, if you remember that Gandhi came in 1915, then Khilafat happened in 1919. So you can guess that Champaran happened somewhere in 1916, 1918. And if you guess that, you can probably find out the correct chronological sequence. So I would recommend that don't get frightened by the various events and facts. NCRT books. Uh, First of all, I would say that if you can read Spectrum and Vipin Chandra, then I don't think you need to read the NCRT book, especially in case of history. Not in case of other subject, but especially in case of history. If you read these two books, it is sufficient. And in any case, if you want to read NCRT book just to give you feel of the history, then I would say that whole NCRT books are better. And even one more good alternative is Tamil Nadu Board's history book, which I found very good. I recently got hold of those, and you can also study those because it gives more weightage to South India in terms of personalities who contributed to this freedom struggle. And nowadays, I'm seeing that many questions are coming from South India, especially. What and how to read about post-independence history? This is a very important aspect. I would say that from exam point of view, India since independence by Bipin Chandra is good because it has all the topics covered in a structured manner in a single book, and different small topics and subtopics are divided. But it is a highly biased book, so always check alternate perspectives. On the other hand, Ramchand Guha is a very objective and neutral book, and if you can have time, you can devote time. I would suggest to read that. Uh, so in that India since independence, only I think you should read from chapter 7 to chapter 24. That is consolidation of India to Punjab crisis. Because initial parts of that book, which are related to constitutional history and reforms and are basically history of polity, which anyway you can read from either Lakshmi Pant or Didi Basu. And for later parts, like history of economy and land reforms, etc., which can be covered from NCRT Indian Economic Book, which is very much more objective and much more unbiased book. To check you have covered all relevant topics related to uh, post freed post independence Indian history, check that these topics which I have taken from history optional syllabus, which will help you that whether you have covered the post independence history in a complete sense or not. These topics you check. If you see that particular topic you have not properly read, you have not enough points for that, you should try to use internet as a good resource to cover those topics. For example, progress of science may not have been covered by that particular book. So you can search for progress of science in India in internet and make your own notes. Then develop your understanding and views and don't just go by the author's views. This is very important in history because historical books are most of the time are written by particular authors who have certain ideology. So don't go just by that. I would at in the end I would like to give some extra tips that in recent years there are some questions have been asked related to contribution of Northeast in freedom struggle, like persons and places related to it, then contribution of women in freedom struggle and tribal movements and personalities related to freedom struggles in prelims and as well as in mains. So especially give attention to these kind of topics if they are coming in the news. If there is any postal stamp issues, award is having constituted related to tribal freedom movement or tribal freedom personal and celebration of 100 years or something, then give special emphasis to that cover. So try to read newspaper from this perspective. I hope you find this presentation useful. And if you have any doubts, queries, or feedback, leave a comment below. I will definitely try to answer that as soon as possible. And you can always subscribe to An Academy YouTube channel by clicking on this particular logo. And you can also visit my blog for further details. Thanks. Bye.